Hello everyone, it's Monday and I'm just leaving work. I had a nice day at work today, even though it was a little slow. I always remain busy and walking various departments and trying to help out my customers, always looking for new accounts to open and all that stuff. So it's 6 o'clock right now. I usually don't make any videos this late, and if I start a video, it's quite possible that somewheres while making the video, if I get a feeling like I can't get my story straight or I can't put together what I want to say, I'll cancel it. And then later on, as the day goes on, ideas pour into my mind of what I want to let my viewers know how I'm thinking. So today, while at work, these thoughts came into my mind, right? And it had to do with what the Trump administration is doing to support our veterans. And you see this? These are my dog tags. I served in the military. And for about 2 months now, I've been wearing it. That's to show my appreciation, and it shows my pride for being in the military and doing what I did. I'm a proud service person. That's why I wear that. But I'm not in particular happy with Trump's administration in doing what it seems like they're cutting off veterans' benefits. 30% of our federal employees are veterans. As you know, these veterans lost their jobs. So once again, as veterans, they were working and supporting other veterans who would go in to veteran hospitals, okay? That's where they were working throughout our federal system. So to me, it's like they're not setting an example for younger people in this country who wish to join our military. By Trump's administration cutting off benefits and firing 30% of the employees that were veterans is not a good example for our future people that want to go into military. If I was young in today's time, and if I'm witnessing what's happening, I would not want to go into the military. I would be scared. In other words, the Trump administration is telling me that if I go in, if I dedicate my life and my time to serve and fight for my country, for what I believe in, I would think twice about joining any military. That's not a good thing, guys. That's not a good thing. How come we think of these things, but yet these crazy people who are in Donald Trump's administration are just not making any sense? How can you just sign off on these executive orders and not think about the implications and not think about what could be the negative impact that it's going to have on our American citizens? The first thing I thought about when I found out that 30% of federal employees were veterans, I said, oh my God, how can they cut 30% of employees that are in our government working. That's like a slap in your face. I just don't understand. If this happened way back then when I was in the military, before I joined, I will not join. I will not join. And that's what's going to happen this year and next year. For the next 4 years, we're going to see recruits going down. It's going to drop. Because you're telling them that if they have to go to a war or a fight, they're going to think twice. They're going to say, why? Because when they become veterans, they're not going to have any incentive. They're not going to have any benefits. They're not going to work in any federal program where they could keep helping our veterans in a designated career. They're going to say, why am I going to do that? Why am I going to give my life for a country that's not giving back to me?
I'm not suggesting anything so complicated.
The other thing I'd like to say is this. Americans are hardworking people. Most Americans have mortgages. They have families. They have children in school. They have children in college. Most Americans right now are struggling to make ends meet. Those employees that were fired from their jobs, they have families, they have mortgages, they have children in college, they have children who are thinking about going to college. How can we just fire people like that? They weren't just Democrats, they weren't just Republicans, they're just people doing their jobs. Do you think when Donald Trump and his administration fire the people in the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, when they cut those safety officers from the FAA, do you think that when those planes, 9 planes in 30 days crashed, do you think when that happened, do you think it was a coincidence? I don't think it was a coincidence. I think it happened. That was a cause and effect. When he removed the safety department from making sure that the planes are taken off, that they were going to get to their destination without any problem while in flight or while they're taking off and when they're landing. All right? The first plane to crash that collided with a military Black Hawk helicopter, that was when the airline was taking off and when the helicopter was probably landing. How can Donald Trump make an assessment before an investigation even took place? How can he say it was DEI? It's common sense to think that, hey, what is DEI? Diversity, inclusion, and equity. Okay? DEI is nothing more than a program that most corporations and companies have in their policies to hire people to be fair in their hiring process. They want to be fair to women. They want to be fair to people regardless of their gender. Okay? Nationality or status, right? They want to make sure that gay people can get a job, be treated equal. They want to make sure that women can get a job and be treated fair to advance any advancements that they have. They can make achievements. People of origin, people of different races. That's all it is. Even if someone has a handicap, they can be considered for a job, okay? In the past years, in the past 20 years, there hasn't been a disaster airline or airplane collision since 2009. And in 2009, there was only one. So all those years, no fatality or airline crashes has happened. But the minute that the Trump administration gets in office, we start seeing a pattern of airline or airplane disasters happening. 9 of them total. Why would a president who was asked, and this took place in the first fatality where 68 people, I believe, passed away. The press asked him during the White House conference, they said to him, will you be visiting the site where the airline collided with the military Black Hawk helicopter? You know what the president says? I don't know. I haven't thought about it. Maybe. Maybe not. We'll see. That's the comment he made. Is that the kind of president you want to run our country? A lot of the programs that the Trump administration removed weren't government waste or abuse. Okay? These employees that got fired from the federal jobs in the government, whether it be the FBI, whether it's Federal Aviation Safety Board, Medicaid, or some type of health care, are not government waste or abuse. Why did he do that? Furthermore, I don't agree that we are safer today. I think this country, with all these cuts and with all these job eliminations, I think that our country, the United States, is at its weakest point. We are not a strong country today, okay? I don't think that all these tariffs that he's imposed on other countries, like our border country, Canada, which we've been partners with for so many years with trades. Many Canadians have homes here in the United States. Okay? That was the worst thing that he can do, because those tariffs are only hitting us in our faces. It's only increased our cost of living. Everything in this country has gone up. Groceries is not cheaper now, it's more expensive. Our gas prices have gone up. Okay? Our interest rates have gone up. Our automobile costs have gone up. I'm not even going to talk about the price of eggs. Okay? They bring up the price of eggs all the time like it's the most important thing. I can live without eggs, but it has gone up like at least 30%. So anyways, I'm in the house now. I was parking my car in the garage. And like I said, I don't usually make videos this late in the day, especially leaving work at 6 p.m. and it's already getting dark out. The lighting in the vehicle is not that great, as you can tell. But sometimes you get this flow of information and you have this drive because our thinking changes throughout the day, throughout the week and stuff. And when you want to talk about the most important things, that thing might not pop out right away. But one of the things I want to say is we live in such a divided country because right now, Trump's approval rating is about 46%, 46 to 47%. It's still very, very high. In those poll numbers, you can see the difference in our thinking process between the split, the dividing of our country. 46% or 47% disapproves with him, okay? And and it's very disparaging. And you say to yourself, how can someone else not see what I see? In my last conversation, before I came in the house, I was talking about the price of groceries, the cost of gasoline, the cost of vehicles, the interest rates going up, etc., etc., etc. I also mentioned how our country is at its weakest point. And there's a reason why I say this. With all the tariffs and United Nations and NATO feeling the impact of this new presidency and his decisions to do what he's done, cutting federal funding, eliminating and firing of all these federal employees. They're in every department of our lives. They're in every department of our country, federally. And he's not going to increase the spending of the military. But like I said, to some capacity, he has weakened our military. Why? Because people, our soldiers, both men and women who are already in our military, they're seeing what could potentially happen to them when they retire from the military. Are they going to lose the benefits? If they want to continue to work in a federal capacity, will they be able to? And the answer to that is no. So right before they retire, they're looking at their options and they're saying to themselves, this is going to impact me when I leave the military. I'm not going to have the health benefits and I'm not going to have the assistance I need that our prior military veterans have received all these years. And even before this happened, our veterans was already at a disadvantage. They were already at disadvantage. Now they're more disadvantaged, disenfranchised. And that's just not right. That's just not right. I'm sorry. All this makes me think, how can 46% that approve him, how can they not see what we see? How can a president, how can he pardon over 1,500 people that were involved in January 6th insurrection? And if you hear them debating about this on the news, you have the Republicans or the MAGA Republicans saying, oh, well, these things happen. They take it very lightly. These 1,500 people broke into the Capitol. They damaged the building. They harmed and they physically accosted the security team that worked there. And then they barged into the main house. That is so wrong. That's never happened before in history. Americans who are out and about in their lives now do not feel safe. the police are not going to get the support. At least that's the way it looks. That criminals can get away with what they're doing. It's just a horrible. We are in a very crazy times in our lives right now with this president. Even before president came into office, the Democrats were saying that this president, Donald Trump, he aligns perfectly with Russian President Vladimir Putin. And here he is. Okay? How can our president make concessions to the Russians before even meeting to talk about policies? How can that happen? Our EU partners right now do not agree with what we're doing. They see us as a weak country who cannot be a leader anymore. We were the leaders of the UN. Most of those countries looked up to us. And if you hear Republicans in the House of Representatives saying that we can no longer be the people or the country that other country can look up to, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? And the other thing I'd like to say is, just militarily alone, we are weaker than when we were with Joe Biden and the old military and the old government we had. Why? Because we had more responsible, experienced people in our defense. Okay? We had a stronger military. Our government agencies wasn't stripped down like it is right now. We are totally stripped. Okay? We look like a stripper in a strip club. All right? When a stripper is dancing in a strip club, she's at her weakest moment, but she just doesn't realize it. I'm gonna talk to you about this comparison I'm talking about. Right now, we look like a strip dancer in a strip club. That stripper looks the weakest, and she is in the most weakest moment of her life when she's out there stripping for all the men. In those groups of men who's out there partying and getting their rocks off by looking at this young woman stripping like that to make extra money, they see her as a victim. Somebody in the crowd is looking at her as a victim. Okay? Years ago in Massachusetts, one of my old students, which I wasn't very close with, went to a strip club. And this individual I'm talking about, he's always had personal problems in high school. He was very violent, always got into fights, and he didn't have many friends. He went to a strip club, and he was watching this one particular girl stripping. And after the show was over, he picked her up and took her back to a motel. Well, anyways, he was hoping that he could have sex with her if he paid her, but she made a bad decision as well. She made a bad decision by trusting him. And he tried repetitively to make advances towards her, and an argument broke out, and he ended up killing her. He strangled her to death with her bra, strangled her to death. Witness said that they saw this gentleman, this person I went to high school with, drive her from the strip club to the hotel where they discovered her dead the following morning. Today, this person who killed this woman is in jail for life. He's never getting out again. What I'm trying to say is we are in the weakest moment of our lives here. We're at a time where NATO countries, the EU, they're disconnecting with us. We look small, we look weak, okay? And for the first time in a long time, they're seeing a president who's aligning himself with Russia. Russia is a bully. The countries around Russia, Poland, and the rest of the countries to the south or whatever of Ukraine are all fearful that one day they will be a victim of President Putin. Poland right now feels terrified. It's scaring the shit out of Poland. And all those countries connected to Poland. They feel like they could be victims next after Ukraine. Can you believe that President Trump is blaming Ukraine for the war that started? And he's calling President Zelensky a dictator? And he's blaming them for attacking Russia. Not in so many words, but that's what he's saying. He's saying these things to appease President Putin. And right now, if you connect with the Russian media, you see what they're saying. They're saying that President Trump is perfectly aligning with them and that they're very pleased with what he's doing. If I didn't know any better, I would say that President Trump right now is intentionally tearing us down, the Americans and our country down, in a way that the only president out of all the countries in the world, except for Iran, China, and South Korea, all the other countries are going to say, they're going to see the same thing I'm seeing. President Trump is tearing us down to appease the Russian country, to appease President Putin, because that's what's happening. That's what's happening. During Hillary Clinton and President Trump's early debate, you know what Hillary Clinton said? Hillary Clinton said that President Trump, Hillary Clinton said that Russian President Vladimir Putin rather have a puppet for a president. All right? That's what Hillary Clinton said. And right now I'm looking at that debate from President Trump's first campaign run for president when he campaigned against Hillary Clinton. That's what Hillary accused him of being, and that's exactly what he is. She said that President Trump wants to align himself with a Russian president. And during that time, he totally denied all and started calling Hillary Clinton a puppet. You know what I'm going to say about that? When he campaigned against Kamala Harris said that President Trump is such a weak person, okay, that President Putin would have him for lunch. And you know what? They're right. They're absolutely right. Just check out these videos right here and see.
Everything I see has no respect for this person.
Well, that's because he'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
It's pretty
You're
clear.
the puppet.
It's pretty clear you won't admit
No, you're
that
the
the
puppet.
Russians have engaged in cyber attacks against the United States of America, that you encouraged espionage against our people, that you are willing to spout the Putin line, sign up for his wish list, break up NATO, do whatever he wants to do, and that you continue to get help from him because he has a very clear favorite in this race.
His eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
You know, for the first time in my life, I am witnessing so many different things that contribute to countries going to war. Okay? Right now, we're in a trade war. We have countries like China who are moving into the leadership role. Okay? They're becoming a more stronger country than we are. And World War I and World War II started out with trade wars, disagreements in trades, okay? Forming blockades through those oceans where our cargo ships blocked one ship from going to another country, like they did in World War II. That led to the attack on Pearl Harbor. Everything is a trade war. If it gets heated, when countries don't get what they're supposed to get, so their country can support their citizens, stresses them out because the cost of goods and products go all the way up. Look what happened with these threats of tariffs that President Trump has caused. He has caused a strain in Canada's and U.S.'s relationship. Same thing happened in Mexico. Okay, same thing is happening in Colombia, and it's going to go on like a domino effect here. And who's going to suffer? The American people. The American people. I don't know about you, but I feel betrayed. I feel betrayed. Not because I voted for Trump, because I didn't vote for Trump. Okay? I don't see what all the other Americans, the 46% that voted for him, that support him right now, his approval rating is going down. It's at 46%. Okay? And why does 46% of Americans see him as a good person? Why would you vote for a person who had all these businesses, casinos? Every one of them failed. Every one of his businesses went through a bankruptcy. What makes people say that he's a good businessman? A lot of his supporters are millionaires and billionaires. We all know that the reason why he's given them a tax break is because they're going to line up his pockets with cash. Look what Elon Musk did. He contributed, $320 million to his campaign? We all know that it's illegal. The most you can contribute to somebody's campaign is $5,000. $5,000. How does he get away with contributing $350 or $320 million? How does he get away with that? I don't know. The other thing that's a big problem for me is, last week I called up a Tesla dealership to cancel my Tesla that I had ordered. And I just noticed today that in my bank, in my checking account, they put my deposit back in. Thank you. But that's the best thing I did was cancel it. Why should I support someone who was never voted, okay, and who was never confirmed to work for Trump in his administration? This country is going downhill, but it was never going downhill like this. It's literally scaring the shit out of me. We don't know what this is going to lead to, but it could potentially lead to a war, if not a civil war. Okay? Over 22 states have now filed lawsuits, or they've had these lawsuits filed, and every one of those executive orders that President Trump signed, I get in TROs, temporary restraining orders. There's a tsunami now of lawsuits against Trump. He's going to be held in contempt because he's not following the orders of the courts. Okay? It seems to me that he just wants to push this to see how far he can take it. Even Trump supporters are feeling a buyer's remorse on this. Okay? They're not happy at all. That's why his approval rating has gone down. His approval rating has gone down to 46%. He's, at this time in his presidency, is much lower than what President Biden, his approval rating was at a month's time. But anyway, when I got to work this morning, I was feeling like I have a lot to say. And I know I don't have the perfect speech vocabulary to vent out what I'm saying, but I think I can connect with a lot of people on this because you can look at all the protests that's going around our country, at the Capitol, in New York City, in Louisiana, in California. It's getting more and more popular now that people are going to start showing up at these places in drones of thousands. We're going to voice our opinion. And you know what? This is going to continue throughout the year. If I happen to be on vacation this year when the protest is going on, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there with my sign holding it up. And one of my first questions is going to be, this president was so sneaky that he betrayed his own people that supported him and voted for him and helped him get in office. Okay? In office. Like those Venezuelans out of Florida, 350 Trump voters were Venezuelans. Well, guess what? Many of those Venezuelans were deported back to Venezuela, and a lot of them that fled Venezuela to be free, to come to this country, to have the same opportunities that Americans have with starting their own businesses and working hard to support their families back in Venezuela, just like Mexicans did. Not every Mexican and not every Venezuelan were criminals. Okay, less than 1% of those people, the Venezuelans and the Mexicans, were criminals, even have a record. Many of these Venezuelans and Mexicans that were here, they were not here illegally. They were here legally, and many of them, even the ones that were citizens, were forced back to their countries. And these people were here to work hard, to support their family and have a peaceful, happy life in this country. But no, what happened? They were put on planes and sent back to their country. What did that do? It left more jobs open now. Farmers don't have any help to work in their crops and farm. There are small companies that were started by Mexicans in lawn care, okay, in farms, in working in factories around the country. Those jobs now are open, and those are the jobs that most Americans do not want to do. Because those jobs now do not have the help that they need, is driving the cost up of our groceries. Because that means that those companies that were supplying us of eggs coming from those farms and those products that's coming from Mexico and Canada, the prices have gone up. Okay? They've gone up. And the people who did the jobs here that Americans don't want to do, those dirty jobs, are now not putting out as much goods and products like they were because Trump got rid of them. Okay? Trump started a hate thing, a racial hate thing. It's not because they were all criminals and they're selling fentanyl. Okay? It's said that at the Canadian border, less than 0.5% were drug people coming in from Canada. 0.5%. Less than that. But they ran a campaign on immigrants and migrants that were criminals. No, they weren't. It's the same thing he did with trans people. Saying that trans people, they just want to play sports. I don't know a lot of trans people, but you know what? There are trans people who have transitioned here for over 30 and 40 years. They're well into their 50s and 60s and 70s. And he's focusing on these young college trans people that just happen to be involved in college sports. Trans people are only 1% of the population. And out of that 1% of the population, there was only like 8 people out of all the schools, out of 50 states who have sports academies or colleges that were getting involved. That means you have thousands and thousands of students involved in sports, and out of all those thousands, only 8 people. Okay? Trump focused in on women's basketball and eliminated all these trans people and a couple of swimmers that were trans. And these other ones were complaining that they're being beat. And the people that were complaining that they were being beat out of their own sports were not even complaining. They were sought after and they were coerced to start a petition because the Trump administration or MAGA republics knew that some trans people, according to Christian schools or Christian colleges, felt that it was a sin for these children who are being assisted by their parents to become who they feel that they are, to reduce the trans people's suicidal tendencies because of bullying in school and not being accepted by all their families, to move forward with just being and leading a happy life. The Republicans played on us for the last 5 years, building up this crescendo to build up animosity and hatred within our society, to finally go to the social media and spread hatred, okay, through Republican media like Fox, okay? It's horrible. It's horrible. Everything I've discussed here is what's happened to this country. Creating smokescreen like this I just described to you, creating a smokescreen like migrant criminals and illegals and deportation was a big smokescreen for what? Project 2025, to corrupt, to break down our government, to fire all the federal workers, to clean house, to save all that money, which don't mount up to any savings at all, because they're saying that they're looking for government corrupt spending, which everything that Elon Musk said is happening never happened. He said that 250 million condoms, whatever it was sent to Gaza, which was a lie, which he ended up coming and saying while he was at the White House with his son on his shoulders with his black hat, saying that, oh, he made a mistake. Well, you know what? The damage was already done. Because some Americans, the 46% who support Trump now, believed it. We know better than that. We know better than that. But this is what this country's this is what this country is headed to. We lost respect with many of our supporters around the world. Like I said, NATO is breaking away from us, and Trump has made it clear that he doesn't want to have nothing to do with NATO anymore. And what does that do to us? It weakens us because we no longer belong to a group of where those are not going to be considering our allies anymore. They're going to support themselves. Germany, Switzerland, all those countries are going to band up to strengthen themselves. Us, we're going to be seen as one of the evil axes, okay, like South Korea, China, and Russia, and Iran. Is that who we're going to be aligning with? Are you kidding me? So how can the 46% of people that's approving of Donald Trump not see this? How come they don't see that Elon Musk doesn't belong in the White House or in the administration of Donald Trump? How come they don't see anything wrong with that? I'll tell you why. Is it possible that they are too also very racist people? They're the ones that don't like the migrant workers, the Mexicans, and the Venezuelans, the black people, some of the people that immigrated from a different country like me. I came to this country in 1970. All they want is Anglo-Saxons. Is that what they want? Because this campaign that he ran was to weed out all these Anglo-Saxons, these Ku Klux Klans. Okay? Just like his administration, just like some Republicans, or maybe most Republicans, because some Republicans are jumping the wagon. They're actually siding with Democrats now. There's going to be a lot of things happening in the next few months and these next 4 years. And I pray to God that we don't go into a World War III or even a civil war, guys. I hope not. I hope not. All I know is right now, this Wednesday, I have an attorney contacting me from Lisbon so I could try, when I'm ready to retire, to go to another country. Because even if this presidency at the end of 4 years is done, I don't think I want to stay here. You know why? Because now I'm seeing how easy for this country to go south. Okay? This country, during World War II, when they finally flew in to Germany and discovered that there were 6 million Jews dead, wasn't that too late? Didn't they know ahead of time? Winston Churchill and Russia had to go to Germany to discover it for themselves? Somebody must have knew. Because if you do some researching into World War II and the Holocaust, you're going to find out that there were a lot of American corporations and banks contributing to Adolf Hitler. Okay? Chase Manhattan Bank was hiding a lot of Nazi money in their banks. There were corporations in this company that's still in business today that were supporting Adolf Hitler. Why didn't they have the decency and the brains to investigate where are their products going? Why were they going to Germany? What were they going to do with it? These chemicals that was going to Germany, what were they going to be used for? Why did Coca-Cola send their products over to World War II to Germany for their soldiers? These records are all public, guys. This country is one broken country. One broken country. Okay? Why are black people still being persecuted in this country? Just about 4 years ago, a black young man was running through a neighborhood in the Panhandle somewheres, and these two white men in a truck with one guy in the bed of the truck with a rifle shoots this young man dead. Like in Africa, they're going killing lions, and they're going killing rhinoceros with their gun. Hey, look, there's a rhinoceros. Bang! That's the same thing they did to this young man who's running through the community. I forgot his name, but you know who it is. That's still happening today. That's still happening today. Why? Why is it that last year and the previous years, people are getting away with murdering trans people? Why is that? Because this government allows it. They allow it. They don't prosecute to the full extent of the law. Okay? And if this country was a good country, a fair country, things like this were never happening. Look at Floyd, the guy that the cop put his knees on his neck to kill him. Why is this still happening? And today, it's still happening. It's still happening. Is this the country I want to live in? I want this bus to stop, and I want to get off. I want to get off. When my family came here to this country, I was only 5.5 years old. I had no choice. But if I was a lot older on my own, I would have never came here. Never came here. So you know what, Donald Trump? You don't have to deport me. I will leave on my own. Because I know what kind of people run this country. Anyways, I've said enough. Hope you guys have a nice week.